Homeless black boy yelled, "Stop! It's poison." Billionaire froze when he learned the truth. The crystal champagne glass sparkled like diamonds under the chandelier lights of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel's ballroom. Vincent Blackstone was about to take his first sip when a young voice cut through the elegant music and polite conversation like a knife through silk. The voice belonged to a boy who shouldn't have been there, a boy whose torn jacket and worn shoes marked him as an outsider in this world of wealth and privilege. But the urgency in his voice made everyone stop and stare. "Stop! It's poison." The homeless boy had somehow gotten past security and was now standing in the middle of the ballroom, his dark eyes wide with fear and determination. Vincent Blackstone, one of the richest men in America, held the glass frozen at his lips. The boy was maybe 14 years old, his clothes dirty from sleeping on the streets, but there was something in his expression that made Vincent pause. It wasn't the look of someone seeking attention or trying to cause trouble. It was the look of someone who knew something terrible was about to happen and couldn't stand by and watch. The security guards were already moving toward the boy, their hands reaching for their radios, but Vincent raised his free hand to stop them. In that moment, something passed between the billionaire and the homeless child, an understanding that would change both their lives forever. Marcus had been living on the streets for 6 months now, ever since his grandmother passed away and left him with no family and no home. But even though life had taken everything from him, it hadn't taken his gift. Marcus could smell things other people couldn't smell, taste things other people couldn't taste. His grandmother had called it a blessing, said it ran in their family, passed down from her grandmother who could tell if food was safe just by holding it near her nose. On the streets, this gift had saved Marcus many times. He could smell when food had gone bad even when it looked fresh. He could taste the difference between clean water and water that would make him sick. And tonight, as he'd been searching for food in the dumpsters behind the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, he'd caught a scent that made his blood run cold. It was coming from the kitchen's back door, which someone had left propped open. The smell was faint, hidden under the aroma of expensive perfumes and gourmet food, but to Marcus, it was as clear as a fire alarm. Bitter almonds mixed with something chemical, something wrong. His grandmother had taught him about that smell, made him promise to remember it. That smell meant death. Marcus had watched through the kitchen window as a man in a waiter's uniform did something strange. The man looked around nervously, then pulled a small bottle from his pocket and added drops of clear liquid to a champagne glass. The glass was on a special tray, separate from all the others, marked with a small red dot that most people wouldn't notice. But Marcus noticed everything when it came to survival. He watched as the waiter carefully carried that tray into the ballroom, heading straight for a tall man in an expensive suit who stood near the stage. The man was older, with silver hair and kind eyes that reminded Marcus of his grandfather. Without thinking about the consequences, without worrying about getting in trouble or being arrested, Marcus ran. He burst through the service entrance, dodged surprised kitchen staff, and raced into the ballroom just as the silver-haired man was lifting the poisoned glass to his lips. Vincent Blackstone had made many enemies in his 58 years of life. When you build a fortune worth billions of dollars, when you expose corruption in major corporations, when you refuse to play by the unwritten rules of the ultra-wealthy, you make people angry. But he'd never expected someone to try to kill him at a charity gala for children's hospitals. He looked at the champagne glass in his hand, then at the boy who stood trembling in the middle of his ballroom. The child's eyes were focused on the glass with an intensity that sent chills down Vincent's spine. Slowly, carefully, Vincent set the glass down on the nearest table. The boy's shoulders sagged with relief, and he took a shaky breath. Vincent walked toward him, ignoring the whispers and gasps from the crowd of wealthy donors around them. When he reached the boy, he knelt down so they were eye to eye. "What's your name, son?" he asked gently. "Marcus," the boy whispered. "Marcus Thompson. And I'm telling you the truth. That drink will kill you." The ballroom erupted in chaos when Vincent called for the police and demanded the champagne be tested immediately. Some guests thought it was all a misunderstanding, maybe even a publicity stunt. Others whispered about assassination attempts and corporate warfare. But Vincent kept Marcus close, protecting him from the security guards who wanted to throw him out and the police who wanted to question him roughly. While they waited for the test results, Vincent asked Marcus to tell him everything. The boy explained about his gift, about watching through the kitchen window, about recognizing the smell his grandmother had warned him about. He told his story simply and honestly, without trying to make himself sound like a hero. He was just a kid who saw something wrong and couldn't let it happen. When the test results came back an hour later, the room fell silent. The champagne contained enough cyanide to kill 3 grown men. The amount was carefully measured to ensure death would occur within minutes, making it look like a heart attack or stroke. Someone had tried to murder Vincent Blackstone, and a homeless 14-year-old boy had saved his life. The investigation that followed revealed a conspiracy that shocked even Vincent, who thought he'd seen the worst of human greed. His own business partner, Robert Chen, had hired a professional assassin to eliminate Vincent and take control of their pharmaceutical company. Chen had been secretly selling defective medicines to developing countries, medicines that Vincent was about to expose to the authorities. The waiter who'd poisoned the champagne was actually a hired killer with a long history of making deaths look natural. He'd been paid $2 million to ensure Vincent never made it out of that ballroom alive. But he hadn't counted on Marcus Thompson, a boy with nothing who chose to risk everything to save a stranger. The killer was arrested trying to flee the country. Robert Chen was taken into custody at his mansion, where police found evidence of numerous other crimes. The entire conspiracy unraveled like a cheap sweater, all because one homeless boy had the courage to speak up when it mattered most. Vincent stood in the police station at 3 a.m, watching as Marcus gave his statement to the detectives. The boy looked exhausted but determined, answering every question with the same quiet dignity he'd shown in the ballroom. Vincent had already made his decision. He'd built his fortune by recognizing potential when he saw it, and Marcus Thompson had more potential than anyone he'd met in years. But it wasn't just about potential. It was about character. This child, who had every reason to be bitter about life, who had been abandoned by the system and forced to survive on his own, had chosen to save someone he didn't even know. He could have walked away, could have minded his own business, could have let Vincent drink that poison and never looked back. Instead, he'd risked arrest, risked being hurt by security, risked everything he had, which wasn't much, to do the right thing. When the police finally finished with their questions, Vincent approached Marcus with an offer that would change both their lives. "Marcus," Vincent said, sitting down beside the tired boy in the police station's waiting area. "I owe you my life. But more than that, I see something special in you. You have a gift, not just your ability to detect poisons, but your courage and your character. I want to offer you something. A home, an education, a future. I want to legally adopt you, if you'll let me." Marcus stared at him in shock, unable to process what he was hearing. "You want to adopt me? But you don't even know me. I'm nobody special. I'm just a homeless kid who got lucky." Vincent shook his head firmly. "You're wrong about that. You're someone who chose to help when you could have walked away. You're someone who risked everything to save a stranger. That's not luck, Marcus. That's character. And character is the one thing money can't buy." Marcus felt tears running down his face for the first time since his grandmother's funeral. "But why? Why would you do this for me?" Vincent smiled, and for the first time, Marcus saw past the billionaire exterior to the man underneath. "Because 20 years ago, I was where you are now. Homeless, alone, with nothing but my determination to survive. A stranger gave me a chance, helped me get my education, helped me build my first company. He told me that someday I should pass on that kindness to someone else. I've been waiting 20 years to find the right person. That person is you, Marcus." The adoption process took 3 months, but Vincent used his influence to ensure Marcus was placed in his care immediately as a foster child. The boy who'd been sleeping under bridges and eating from dumpsters suddenly found himself living in a mansion with 20 rooms and a library bigger than most houses. But Vincent didn't just give Marcus material things. He gave him what the boy needed most: love, stability, and purpose. Marcus started school at the prestigious Blackstone Academy, where he excelled in chemistry and biology. His gift for detecting subtle chemical changes made him a natural scientist. Vincent hired the best tutors to help Marcus catch up on the education he'd missed while living on the streets. But Marcus never forgot where he came from. Every weekend, he and Vincent would visit homeless shelters and soup kitchens, bringing food and supplies. Marcus would talk to the kids there, telling them his story, showing them that there was hope even in the darkest times. He started a program called Second Chances that helped homeless youth get education and job training. Within a year, the program had helped over 100 kids get off the streets and into stable lives. One evening, a year after the adoption was finalized, Marcus and Vincent sat in their library, working on Marcus's science project about detecting poisons in water supplies. It was advanced work for a 15-year-old, but Marcus had already caught the attention of several universities who were eager to offer him scholarships when he graduated. "Dad," Marcus said, and Vincent's heart still warmed every time the boy called him that, "I've been thinking about that night at the hotel. What if I hadn't been there? What if I'd been somewhere else, or been too scared to speak up?" Vincent put down his book and looked at his son with pride. "But you were there, and you weren't too scared. That's what matters. Life is full of what-ifs, Marcus. The important thing is that when the moment came, you made the right choice." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "My grandmother used to say that every person has a purpose, a reason they're put on this earth. She said my gift was given to me for a reason, that someday I'd use it to do something important." "She was right," Vincent said. "You saved my life, but you did more than that. You saved all the lives that will be helped by the medicines my company develops correctly, honestly, without cutting corners like Robert Chen wanted to do. You saved the kids who will get help through your Second Chances program. You saved me from becoming just another rich man who forgot what really matters in life." The news media couldn't get enough of their story. The homeless boy who saved the billionaire. The billionaire who adopted the boy who saved him. But Marcus and Vincent knew their story was about more than headlines. It was about the power of choosing to help others, even when you have nothing. It was about recognizing that wealth isn't measured in money but in character. It was about second chances and the families we choose. Marcus's gift continued to develop as he grew older. By the time he was 18, he had helped solve 3 more poisoning cases, working with the FBI as a consultant. He developed new methods for detecting toxins that saved countless lives. He graduated from MIT with degrees in chemistry and biology, but he never forgot the lessons he learned on the streets. Vincent lived another 20 years, long enough to see Marcus get married, have children of his own, and take over the pharmaceutical company with a promise to always put people before profits. When Vincent passed away peacefully in his sleep at age 79, Marcus was holding his hand. At Vincent's funeral, Marcus stood before a crowd of thousands and told the story of how they met. "People ask me all the time how I knew the champagne was poisoned," he said, his voice strong despite his tears. "The truth is, I could smell it. But the real truth is that I spoke up because my grandmother taught me that when you can help someone, you help them. It doesn't matter if they're rich or poor, young or old, stranger or friend. You help because it's the right thing to do. Vincent Blackstone gave me everything I have today, but I want you to know that he received more than he gave. He used to tell me that I saved his life that night at the hotel. But the truth is, he saved mine too. He saw potential in a homeless kid that nobody else wanted. He gave me a chance when the world had written me off. And he taught me that true wealth isn't about money. It's about the lives you touch and the love you share." Marcus went on to revolutionize poison detection technology, creating devices that could identify toxins in food and water supplies instantly. His inventions saved millions of lives in developing countries where poisoned water was a constant threat. He expanded the Second Chances program nationwide, helping thousands of homeless youth find homes, education, and hope. He married a woman named Sarah who'd also grown up in foster care, and together they adopted 6 children from the streets, giving them the same chance Vincent had given Marcus. Each child was special in their own way, and Marcus made sure they knew they were loved and valued. He taught them what Vincent had taught him, that character matters more than circumstances, that kindness is never wasted, and that everyone deserves a second chance. The Blackstone Thompson Foundation became one of the largest charitable organizations in the world, focusing on homeless youth, poison prevention, and medical research that prioritized human welfare over profit. Years later, when Marcus was asked to speak at Harvard's graduation ceremony, he stood before thousands of young people about to enter the world and told them something he'd learned from both his grandmother and Vincent. "Success isn't measured by what you achieve for yourself," he said. "It's measured by what you do for others." I was a homeless boy who yelled, "Stop! It's poison," to save a stranger's life. That stranger became my father, my mentor, my best friend. But none of that would have happened if I'd stayed silent. So I challenge you today. Don't stay silent when you see injustice. Don't walk away when someone needs help. Don't assume someone else will step up. Be the person who speaks out, who takes action, who makes a difference. You never know when your voice might save a life, or when your kindness might change the world. The story of Marcus Thompson and Vincent Blackstone became a legend, told in schools and homeless shelters, in boardrooms and living rooms. It reminded people that heroes don't always wear capes or carry weapons. Sometimes they're homeless kids with special gifts and the courage to use them. Sometimes they're wealthy men who remember what it's like to have nothing. Sometimes they're ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things. The title of their story was simple but powerful: Homeless Black Boy Yelled, "Stop! It's poison." Billionaire froze when he learned the truth. But the truth wasn't just that the champagne was poisoned. The truth was that kindness can appear in the most unexpected places, that family isn't always about blood, and that one act of courage can create ripples that change the world. Marcus never forgot that night in the ballroom, when he made the choice that changed everything. And Vincent never forgot the boy who saved not just his life, but his soul, reminding him that the greatest fortune anyone can have is the opportunity to help others. As Marcus grew older and had grandchildren of his own, he would tell them the story of that night, always ending with the same words his grandmother had told him: "Your gifts are not for you alone. They're for the world. Use them wisely, use them bravely, and never be afraid to speak up when something's wrong. You never know when your voice might be the one that makes all the difference." And in homeless shelters across the country, kids who'd lost everything would hear Marcus's story and dare to hope again. Because if a homeless boy could save a billionaire and become a hero, maybe they could overcome their circumstances too. Maybe they could be the next person to change the world with a single act of courage. The story lived on, inspiring generations to look past appearances, to value character over wealth, and to remember that sometimes the most important voice in the room belongs to the person everyone else ignores. Today, the Marcus Thompson Center for Homeless Youth stands in the same neighborhood where Marcus once searched for food in dumpsters. It's a beautiful building with clean beds, hot meals, educational programs, and most importantly, hope. Above the entrance, engraved in stone, are the words that changed 2 lives forever: "Stop! It's poison." But everyone who enters knows the real message. Stop ignoring those in need. Stop assuming someone has nothing to offer because of their circumstances. Stop walking past opportunities to help. Because poison isn't just something that can be put in a drink. Poison is indifference, prejudice, and the assumption that some lives matter more than others. And the antidote is exactly what Marcus showed that night in the ballroom: courage, compassion, and the willingness to speak up for what's right. The story of the homeless black boy who yelled, "Stop! It's poison," and the billionaire who froze when he learned the truth became more than just a news story or a tale of coincidence. It became a reminder that every person has value, every voice matters, and every act of kindness creates ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. Marcus Thompson went from sleeping under bridges to developing technology that saves lives around the world. Vincent Blackstone went from being just another wealthy man to being a father who learned that the greatest investment he ever made wasn't in stocks or companies, but in a 14-year-old boy who had the courage to save his life. Their story proves that heroes come in all forms, that families can be created by choice rather than birth, and that sometimes the most important moments in our lives happen when we least expect them. It reminds us to pay attention, to value character over credentials, and to never underestimate the power of one person choosing to do the right thing. Because in the end, that's what changed everything. A homeless boy chose to help a stranger, and a billionaire chose to see the hero beneath the torn clothes and dirty face. Together, they showed the world that true wealth has nothing to do with money and everything to do with love, courage, and the willingness to give others the second chance we all deserve.